I wanted to dedicate another video to describe a neuromuscular pattern of human asymmetry, specifically when the left pelvis is going so high up enough that it already creates an instability in that left pelvis. So in a nutshell, I'm going to review my online patient from Los Angeles who developed severe pelvic tilt on the left, which already caused instability in that left pelvis, which actually disrupted the entire mechanic and entire ranges of motion in his spine, in his joints.
It just bled into every aspect of my life, and I'm very grateful that I don't have to deal with that constantly no more because it just affected everything. Feel more in control, more strong, stable. That's the main things that I feel outside of the pain relief.
Because you see, my patient actually already worked with 2 consecutive PRI specialists, very well known, very well skilled, without much of the success. But after 5 months of our online work, he got rid of his symptoms almost completely, which is a miracle in and of itself. And how that created a pain in the right groin, right erector spine, left scapular area. Besides that, I will cover a few techniques that may help you initially on the very beginning stages to overcome this kind of situation. Tabby is a former US soldier who struggled a lot from a chronic pain and postural imbalances. You can see his posture before, a lot of problems, asymmetries and imbalances. Both femorals are externally rotated, a lot of extension in his lower back, body mass is being shifted forward onto the forefoot. And of course, when he walks, there is a problem with his left hip, which being hiked up all the time and forwardly rotated, which twists the spine towards the right. I have to admit, it's still fairly superficial explanation, just for not professional people to understand the problem. Although he got stuck in specific, unique to him AIC pattern, this AIC pattern is already causing some structural changes to his spine. And I can recreate that on the software. So you can see left pelvis is being hiked up and significantly rotates forward, which kind of twists the spine to one specific direction, which causing a lot of pain. His left hip flexors are being shortened and tight all the time, which pulls the pelvis up and forward, which holds the pelvis as a hostage in one specific position. As you can see in this test, the left leg cannot fully move downwards because this left iliopsoas is being so tight and shortened, it doesn't allow the left leg to come down. Interesting fact is, some of you may not have a strained or shortened iliopsoas, yet still be in the AIC pattern, because iliopsoas is just small part of a big AIC group of muscles. There could be some other overactive muscles there as well. As opposed to the right side, you can see that the right leg moves downwards much further, which is a good thing because it means there is less hip flexor strain there, but there were some popping sounds from the right hip, which is the sign of instability. After 5 months of online coaching, you can see significant improvements. Now he can easily shift from right to left and backwards and forward, and when he achieves a left mid-stance of gait, now he doesn't hike up with the left pelvis and the left shoulder is being more stable with the left scapular, of course, which also explains the significant reduction of his symptoms and pain. Because of our therapy, finally he can utilize the right buttock muscle during appropriate timing of the walk and inhibit his overactive hip flexors on the left and left AIC pattern. Thus, when he stands, for instance, on the right leg, finally his spine is shifting and rotating towards the left, as opposed to how it was before. It didn't happen overnight. I've progressed him through the entire therapy for a lot of months. Thus, he achieved that results. Besides his postural behavior, we also tweaked some of the habits and also fixed his sagittal plane profile. So as you can see, he's not falling forward anymore.
If you listen to Alex here, he will guide you in the proper way. It's the best thing you could do if you're at this point, if you're watching this, obviously you're in some deep pain, you're in some bad pain. And I'm just telling you, take it from me, just be consistent with it and just let this man guide you. And man, that's the best I can tell you right here.
If you are struggling with postural asymmetries and chronic pain, email me, click the link below, describe briefly your situation, where do you have a pain, attach pictures of your posture, video of your walk. It's going to be completely anonymously from my end so that I can evaluate whether you are a perfect match and fit for my online coaching services. And if so, I can conduct you through in the same way I did with Tabby. Keep in mind, in 1 week, terms and pricing for my coaching services will be changed.
Yeah, so my name is Tabby. Right now, I'm currently in Los Angeles, California. And yeah, the previous problems why I initially came to Alex was it felt like life crippling with the pain and kind of how setback this pain has caused me in my life. And I'm sure that's why anybody's here, why anybody be watching this video. You get to a point where you have no options and you want to get out of this. Where's the answers to it? And um, yeah, it was just the main motivating factor for me was the pain, the dysfunction in my body that affected every aspect of my life. So yeah, that's definitely why I end up finding you.
How long you've been in that state?
5 to 6 years.
I think it's worth mentioning that you were in the military, yes?
Yeah, and then that's kind of why I'm basing that timeline on because I felt some discrepancies with my body beforehand, but definitely I felt it a lot more after I got out of the military around 2020. So yeah, about yeah 5 going on 6 years. Definitely lower right, the bottom. Can you see it on the camera?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the lower right, down here, inner right of my groin. And I would say, to be honest with me, if not all of my back, definitely it felt like the whole right side of my body was just constantly in pain. It just felt like it was constantly scrunched up and
Yeah,
always when I went to sleep, throughout the day, all the time.
24/7 basically you were in pain.
I would say 24/7 for like my body was just in constant fight or flight, tighten up, mostly on the right side.
And also I remember I could recall that you previously mentioned something about the left shoulder blade and the left thoracic spine, yes?
Yeah. So the whole upper right shoulder neck area for sure constantly just in pain constantly always felt like a pinching sensation up there. Yeah, this whole now that I'm remembering, see, it's like you've been in there so long that when it leaves it's almost like you forget. This whole upper area, that's right,
Yeah,
the scapula, the whole everything right here,
sure.
constantly tight pain. It affects your relationship with people. It affects how you conduct yourself in the world. So to me, it affected everything. Me physically, easier to get reactive and angry. So you can imagine that when I'm talking with people, when I have a family, kids, it just bled into every aspect of my life. And um, I'm very grateful that I don't have to deal with that constantly no more because it just affected everything.
So eventually, somehow, you kind of stumble across the PRI approach, and of course, you
Mhm.
started to work locally where you lived, yes, in Texas, in California, as I could recall. Could you recall just your experience with both of these therapists? Not necessary to name those people, but just overall, how it was.
Yeah, so even before that, it was chiropractor, and it was kind of like the same thing when I met the first PRI therapist
It was
in Texas. Yeah, Dallas, Texas, and it was like kind of this like cookie cutter, looked at the body. Here's the problems, and here's this exercise, and it wasn't like with you. It wasn't specifically, all right, this is what's specific going on with you, and this is the specific exercise that we need to do to combat that. And that was my experience bleeding over to the other therapists that I had out here. It was kind of, like, oh, okay, we look at your body. Here's these basic approaches that I could just go on YouTube and get it, honestly. and here's these exercises that you could do that, like, again, I could just go on YouTube and get these exercises, one size fits all thing. So it didn't feel as personalized. That was the biggest issue I had, and it's just something in me was like, man, this is not it. It was the same thing with the chiropractor. Just come in here, we'll pop this, we'll move this, and then you'll feel better. But it wasn't no personalized, like, why am I feeling like this? And then how can you help me get out of this situation? I didn't feel secure in listening to this person, because I just felt like, okay, thanks for the money. Here you go. See you later, you know.
Your results of the pain release, it was not just happening over first months, I guess. It happened after 3 or 4 months. Would you recall when it all happened? When you start to feel a little bit better?
About, yeah, like a few months in. I don't even know if it took 3 months, but definitely a few months in it. And what felt better the most was just my body felt more strong, and that made me think and understand, like, wow, I felt weak before, and just susceptible to all this pain. Is I didn't feel as in control of my body as
Yeah.
I would say I do now. I feel more in control, more strong, stable. That's the main things that I feel outside of the pain relief. Yeah, because I got a job where I'm on my feet a lot and walking around a lot, and I don't feel burnt out and exhausted from the end of the day like I would. It doesn't feel like it's this huge undertaking task to just walk for however long I'm on my job as it did before previously. Yeah.
You can walk longer, basically, without much of the pain that you've described. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, yeah, sit longer, walk longer, just basic things that, you kind of take for granted for until it hurts to walk or hurts to sit, and just being able to just have that control of that aspect of my life, just even that little fundamental piece is so big, you know, compared to before.
So on this scale from 0 to 10, let's say the pain level decreased like how much?
Yeah, I would say from where I began to now, if I was at a one or if I was at a zero, I would say eight,
So right
solid
now,
eight.
right now you are between 0 and 1, and previously it was 8. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
I would say that.
Well, because you see two specialists work with you previously physically, and now all of a sudden we are working through the online, and I have received a lot of questions. How does that even possible? How does it even possible? Of course it's possible. It's more than possible. But I just wanted to hear your view and your understanding of the situation.
Yeah, I feel like that should say a lot. First of all, like you mentioned, how long we've been working together. So that says a lot right there. If I'm willing to work with somebody that long over a virtual call, that says a lot right there. And versus when I could just drive down the street and go to the PRI therapist within the area I'm in, from being in a different state in Texas, and it's still not working out for me, all in person. So I would say the thing that not just drew me but kept me in was your approach is different in a way where it's more curated. If something like a flare up happens, okay, let's figure out and let's understand where this is coming from. Maybe you're not maneuvering your pelvis in the proper way. Like, for instance, when I was doing a one exercise, I wasn't bending over enough in order to activate my right glute. I wasn't bending forward enough, so it was still activating the lower back of my lower back, which kept causing a flare up. And then having you and your approach, it's like, okay, now let's figure this out. Let's understand. Let's just get to the root. Let's personalize things. That's just the biggest difference in the more refreshing thing, and why somebody would be willing to do this over a video call versus in person. You know, it's just it comes down to the approach to the therapist, and honestly, the care that you put into it is shown through. Why somebody would be working with you this long. Stay consistent. If you really want to do better, you'll stay consistent. If you want to feel better, you'll stay consistent. It'll be some bumps in the road, like I've had my flare-ups. I've had things that's coming back. Sometimes you might hit a plateau, but I promise you, if you stay consistent, if you listen to Alex here, he will guide you in the proper way. He will show you it's the reason why you're even considering. Take it from me, it's worth it. It's the best thing you could do if you're at this point. If you're watching this, obviously you're in some deep pain. You're in some bad pain, and I'm just telling you, take it from me. Just be consistent with it, and just let this man guide you. And man, that's the best I could tell you right here. I'm willing, and I would rather have an online coaching call. It doesn't have to be in person with somebody like him that is very curated to their approach and is a teacher that teaches and allows you to understand and comprehend what you're doing in a way that can actually make tangible results in your pain and your lifestyle. Um, and that is that's the best thing that you could ask for, because that actually helps you improve whatever situation you're in.
Okay, so let's see together what we've done with Tabby to improve and fix his pain in the right adductor, right lower back, left scapular neck. And lastly, here are some key principles of his therapy. The first one was the key point for him. As you could see, he was overly extended with his lower back and lower body. The body mass was shifted onto his forefoot. He was falling forward. And if the brain constantly feels that body mass distribution onto the forefoot, it means the body will overly use his quads, his hip flexors to progress him forward, to walk forward. So he's not going to use hamstrings, not going to use buttocks at all. These muscles will be out of the equation just because simply this faulty positioning in standing posture. So as you can see, we have had a lot of goals here and the reasons why we've done that to him. And for that matter, a lot of exercises we've done. The next was a frontal plane inhibition of his left pelvis. Previously, left pelvis was constantly hiked up to the point it got unstable. Some ligaments here around the left pelvis was overstretched and weak. So the pelvis started to do excessive range of motion. We would have to give the brain a signal that the pelvis can travel down. At this early stage, it would be done passively, without gluteus medius, hamstrings, whatever muscles, iliacus, just passive positioning, just to feel the brain, that the brain can feel the difference before and after. Again, a lot of exercises were done for that matter. Now the third step is very important. Restore the pelvic stability. As I mentioned, if the pelvis is being unstable, in PRI what we are usually doing is we are replacing some ligaments or some unstable parts of your previously strong but now weak soft tissues with muscles. In Tabby's case, we would have to overemphasize left gluteus medius. We would have to train left gluteus medius with a little bit of the resistance, with a little bit of additional weight, not too much, just enough to develop gluteus medius stability and power. And we would have to restore both femoral on acetabulum, internal rotation of the left femur, and acetabulum on femoral internal rotation. Both of these parts of walk have gluteus medius activity. So both of these parts of walk has to be re-emphasized and retrained with a lot of additional, sometimes resistance, so that he is not going to collapse onto his left pelvis. The left pelvis will not hike up crazy like it was before. Now, another one was right gluteus maximus restoration. So he didn't felt at all the right glute max like a lot of you guys.
Because I was tightening, I can't even tell. I'm tightening some other muscles that wasn't allowing me to feel my glutes.
Yes.
But since I like kind of just let it drop down and relax into it, is when I start feeling my right glutes. Because my body, like everything's just so tense, I can finally feel it. That's how I was able to feel the exercise better now.
Very good. And because of that, he couldn't rotate himself towards the left, but at the same time, he couldn't shift himself properly towards the right. When you are on the right leg, there is so-called feet-forward activity. When you are holding yourself up with the right gluteus maximus, with the proper positions of femurs, of hip, of everything, your brain gives the signal to the left opposite leg that it is high time to let go certain chains of muscles. That we call, that anticipatory reaction calls feet-forward activity, which is the core pretty much of PRI. We've also worked on that. And finally, that contributed to let go of his pain in right groin, right adductor, right lower back. The next step was, of course, left scapular protraction and reestablishing the proper positioning of the rib cage so that the pain in the upper thoracic mid rib cage can disappear finally. Protraction of the left shoulder is very important because previously his shoulder was not in, it was in between two states. Yes, that's why we need to work a lot of left serratus anterior and right lower trapezius. And lastly, the next and the last principle is integration of all parts together to implement and enhance the walking cycle itself. Faulty walking patterns and you getting stuck into its specific phase of gait will lead you to pain and strain. So in order to break your pain, we would finally need to exercise directly your pelvis ability to move like it should during the walk. What you can see Tabby is exercising right now is his ability to utilize left gluteus medius during the left stance so that left glute will stabilize finally his left unstable pelvis during so-called internal rotation of the femur in the left hip socket. On the previous stages of the therapy, Tabby already exercised that on the floor. Now we have transitioning him onto the upright position so that the brain can recognize that as a part of the walking cycle. Hence, the changes will be more permanent.
I know how things can happen in life, but if you set something as a priority, you'll make time for it.
Exactly.
And if this is a priority for you, if your pain relief, if your quality of life, because this will change every aspect of your life, because there's a reason why you're here and you're on this therapy. So if you do that and you make this a priority and you're consistent with it, I promise, as much as this you could say is damaging or harming your life now, the consistency to work on repairing it will have much more bountiful results of improving your life.